Hi guys, today we are going to compare and contrast the two folk tales that we've been reading. We read The Blind Man and the Elephant and How the Beetle Got Its Gorgeous Coat. So on the beginning of our Canvas page, I included some pictures from both texts so that you can remember, but go ahead and get your booklet out if you want to have it to help you. This is how the beetle got its gorgeous coat. Remember, it was about a rat and a colorful parrot and a beetle who then they raced each other, and the blind man and the elephant who were wondering what this big, huge animal, the elephant, really looked like. So we are going to compare and contrast both of those stories. And in order to do that, we have a graphic organizer. It looks like this. At the top there are some directions. It says compare and contrast the different elements from the blind man and the elephant and how the beetle got its gorgeous coat. So if you look in the center column, we have things that are the same. Things that are the same. And here it's labeled elements. That just means things in our story that are similar. And then on either side, we have what is different. Okay, so when we compare and contrast, we think about how they are alike and how they are different. Now, this graphic organizer out a little bit and gives us an idea to think of what we could add to either side. So one element that was the same in both stories is that the characters have a goal to achieve. So let's ask ourselves, what was the goal of the blind men in the story? Think back. What all did they want to learn about? Right, they wanted to learn about an elephant. And what did the characters in our story, How the Beetle Got Its Gorgeous Coat, want to learn or achieve? If you think back, we know that the rat and the beetle both wanted to win a race and the prize that came with winning. So in this story, they wanted to achieve the win of a race. Okay. Sorry, sometimes the video freezes and I try to wait it out so you don't miss anything. Every now and then it must be either the internet or who knows. We're having some bad weather, so that probably doesn't help. Okay, again, let's look at this part of our story that was the same. This element says the characters think they are right about something, but are actually wrong. That was the same in both stories, right, guys? In the elephant story, all of the blind men felt that they were the right ones about how the elephant looked. And we know that they were only talking about one part of an elephant. And in our story, How the Beetle Got Its Gorgeous Coat, the rat is sure that he will be faster than the crawling beetle. But what he doesn't know is that the beetle can actually fly. So we'll fill those sections in for each story. Okay, I wrote, each man is sure of his description of the elephant is correct, but he only knows one part. So you don't have to write word for word. You can write, each man thinks he's correct. Okay, and add, but he only knows one part of the elephant. And this side, the rat is sure he will be faster and win. But he doesn't know the beetle can fly. Okay. Now let's talk about our setting. The setting in each story has a setting, so that's a common element, right? A story element would be about the characters, the beginning, middle, and end, and the setting. So in the setting of The Blind Man and the Elephant, that story takes place in India. And in How the Beetle Got Its Gorgeous Coat, that story takes place in Brazil. So if you wanted to check on that, you would go back into your book. Maybe you don't remember that part of our story, the setting exactly. So you could go back and look in our text. And the first sentence here, it says Brazil. Okay, and that was a long time ago. Okay, and then if you go back to our elephant story, it says long ago in a village in India. Okay, so if you wanted to be a little more specific, you could add the date and the time. So India long ago, or you can add that it was in a village. These are just other details, but the main setting would be the country that takes place. Okay, the other story element that was the same in both of our folk tales was that the characters realized that something is not what it seems to be. Okay, so they were corrected in their thoughts. And for the story The Blind Man and the Elephant, the men learned that part of an elephant is not the whole elephant. So even though they were feeling only the trunk, they didn't realize the elephant had a huge other big portion of its body they were missing. So when they were thinking that each one of them was correct, they were actually all wrong, right? The men learned the elephant is more than one part. And for this story, what did they learn? Think back about the rat. The rat learned something about the beetle, right? We sort of mentioned it up in here. The rat learned that the beetle is not as slow as she seems. Did you ever hear the expression, don't judge a book by its cover? That's sort of what the rat was doing. He was kind of eyeing up the beetle and thinking, this little beetle is so small, her legs are short, she's not going to be fast. But really, he didn't know her very well, did he? He didn't know that she could fly or that she had that talent. So you can't really judge people without getting to know them first. All right, and another step was we learned a lesson. They each had a lesson to teach. Okay, so we all learned a lesson from these stories. And the lesson they were trying to teach us in The Blind Man and the Elephant was that if you put your ideas together with other people's ideas, you learn more and you get to see the whole picture, right? One idea is better, or a lot of ideas is better than one. That's why in work and at school, we work together, we have meetings to talk about our ideas, and usually more heads together coming up with ideas is better than just one. So that would be the lesson here. Put your ideas together. And in this story, the lesson that we learned was that we should not brag, right? It's not wise to brag or boast about yourself or be overly confident, because you might learn that other people are just as good at what you can do, right? And it's better, like the beetle, she was very kind, even though she knew she was going to win. She wasn't a boastful winner. She didn't brag. She was thankful and still kind to the rat. So it's not always best to brag or boast. And the word wise just means smart. It's not really smart to boast or brag about yourself. It's okay to have confidence. You want to have self-confidence, but you don't want to brag about it. Now, before we go, answer this question down here at the bottom. It says, how are the characters different in the second story? How the beetle got its gorgeous coat. A, they learn a lesson. B, they do not work together. Or C, they are from a foreign land. How are they different? How are they different? How are the characters different in the second story? How the beetle got its gorgeous coat. Well, these characters didn't really get along, did they? But at the end, let's go here to the end and see. They didn't really work together, did they? As soon as the race began, the gray rat swiftly ran as usual. The beetle crossed so slowly he thought, she can't possibly win. But the rat was surprised. How did you do it? He asked. I flew, she replied quietly, and spread her wings. I did not know you could fly, the rat whispered. Then the beetle chose a gorgeous green and gold coat, the same coat she proudly wears today. So, the characters did learn a lesson. They did not work together, and they are from a foreign land. So I would circle B. They did not work together. All right, good job, boys and girls. If you want to fill in a little bit of the graphic organizer that we worked on, you can go ahead and submit that to your teacher. You don't have to copy it word for word for mine, just to show us that you have, fill it out just to show us that you have a good idea of how to compare and contrast these two stories. Okay, so you can just use shorter sentences than I did, and then go ahead and submit.